Good afternoon. My name is Roy Kirchner, and today we are back with another episode of Secrets for Success in 2025. It's March, what is it, March 21st? Man, we are already through almost 3 months of this year. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Roy Kirchner. I am a serial entrepreneur here in the Tampa Bay, Florida market. And the main company that I own that I've had for over 10 years is Ultimate 3D Printing Store. And with that company, we do the new technology of the world, additive manufacturing, 3D printing. And I've literally had it for over 10 years. I've owned businesses before this, but that one I kind of grew to be one of the top fastest growing companies in Tampa Bay. I was awarded the sixth fastest growing company in Tampa Bay in 2021. Stayed on the Fast 50 in 2022. Got some other awards for top tech companies in Florida. And really what we do this for is, again, to bring you tips and tricks on how to be truly successful in business and in life in 2025. So I'm really excited. I'm going to pass it over to John for him to introduce himself, and then we're going to start with our topic of today.
Yeah, looking forward to our conversation as I always do, Roy. My name is John D. Hanson. The middle initial is important. If you want to find out more about me on LinkedIn, that's the place where I recommend people go. You can learn more than you ever wanted to know about me there on LinkedIn. I do a combination of things: public speaking, workshop facilitation, business coaching. But I especially enjoy working with entrepreneurial people. And you don't have to own a business to be entrepreneurial. You just have to think outside the box. And what we're going to be talking about today in our conversation is, all right, you've got an idea, or you want to grow your personal brand or your business brand or both. How can you do that in a non-traditional, outside of the box, perhaps low or no cost? How do you market yourself or your company? And there's so many different ways to do this. We're going to talk about this, having firsthand experience, both of us, in these areas. How can you market yourself in a non-traditional way? Rather than just spending money and hoping something happens, what are some things you can do that can help grow the awareness? That the biggest challenge with know, like, and trust is getting known. That's the biggest hurdle nowadays. How do you stand out from the noise? How do you start making inroads where you are? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. I know Roy and I both have some great insights and stories that we can share with you on what's worked for us and perhaps what hasn't worked for us. So, Roy, what would you say if I asked you a question just off the top of your head? What's the top non-traditional? So not spending for ads, not spending for advertising, not bringing on a marketing agency, while there are some excellent ones out there. What did you do that drove immediate results that people might not think of when it came to growing your business?
Yeah, I mean, I think, as far as is one of the things that separate us truly from others is we're family owned and operated. So I'm gonna go a little bit, kind of deep in this, and this is not technology at all. So it's taking the care of the customer before, during, and after the sale. And so we actually pick up the phone. We have great
Mm.
customer service. And that's one of the things, we pick up the phone. So it makes us, as a e-commerce environment, it makes us completely different than Amazon because people can actually ask questions, right? And they can actually talk to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So that separates us from the pack. One of the other things that we do is, we write personal letters when people buy.
Mm.
Like, we put it when we ship out the product. We tell them, thank you so much for buying from a small family owned and operated company, that we're not Amazon. We value truly, their business. And I think that's a beautiful thing over 10 years, to build an actual brand that stands itself. Like, people come back and buy from us because they know that we're a good place to do business, right? And you gotta be competitive in today's market, so you can't have a higher price than somebody else. But if you have a very competitive price in this day and age, then they're going to continue to always do business with you. So it's that's one of the biggest things, I would say. And then, of course, in your community, right?
Yeah.
When somebody comes in, it's truly taken care of when they come in. So that's a different type of customer, but that's even a better customer, because if you take care of somebody and you truly take care of somebody, there's no bigger way to grow a business than word of mouth. Still to this day, it's the
Yeah.
strongest thing. Getting somebody to say, listen, I'll tell my sister, aunt, uncle, brother, cousin, friend to do business with you because I valued, the relationship and how you took care of us. There's no bigger way to absolutely, I still to this day, that the human element to human element is stronger than anything else. So I mean, those types of things are just really truly strong. And again, that's putting policies and procedures and making sure your team knows and is educated, but that's not spending money on marketing and advertising, right? So
Yeah.
that's definitely one of the first things, John.
Yeah, for sure. If you think about your best clients, the one that just keep coming back to you again and again and again. Now, let's say you're not a business owner. Let's say you are a team member and you're wanting to grow side work and you want some ideas on how to do that. If you've got clients in the current business you work for, you'd be amazed how many, I know you could attest to this, Roy, how many highly successful people would love to give just say an hour of their time to answer questions from someone who's curious about, all right, so how did you grow your business? This is what I'm thinking about doing. What could be a good first or next best step for me? You're not trying to get access to their money. You're not trying to get access to their network. You're literally asking for their input and their advice.
Yeah.
There's a gold mines of knowledge and wisdom walking around from people, and some of your best clients are the owners of those companies that are your best clients, asking for an hour of their time. I know that you are one of the best clients of the company that I work for. I'm looking to grow this thing that I'm doing. More often than not, the people who are highly successful have more than one thing going on. And then they see someone approaching them to literally learn from them, to ask questions. That they love that because it's so rare. Wouldn't you agree, Roy,
Yeah.
that it's rare that people want to learn how you did something? They're usually trying to get a shortcut or a head start or get somebody you know. How often would you say that happens where people approach to legitimately learn from your experiences? How often does that happen?
I think it happens quite often now, but it was learning that that's a great way to get business, right?
Mm,
Too, is doing things like that. You know what I mean? Is reaching out that way, and I think that's a perfect way to leverage success in 2025. John, is to do those types of things, right? Because we react as humans completely different than we did before. I mean, it used to be like slashing prices,
right.
sale, sale, sale. And that's how the emotion was like, oh my gosh, I got to run into a store and buy. And now people do not buy that way, right?
No,
They buy
they
off
don't.
of influence, they buy off of seeing a brand and a culture grow. So it's a lot different, and some of the times when you tie in who you are with a business or a brand, and you see that done all the time. Like you see athletes sponsoring brands and things like that. The reason why they're doing it is because it works, right? Like they wouldn't be doing it if it didn't
Right.
work.
Yeah.
So a lot of that is literally there. So it's interesting how some of these brands do that, like with even influencer marketing. Like I was just talking to somebody the other day that they're like a Celsius brand ambassador, and all they get is just to drink Celsius, right? They get free Celsius, but then they do tons of posts on social media and get truly costing a lot of money from Celsius, but it's building a following, right? It's building their brand up tremendously, and it's leveraging a partnership, right? Because the people like Celsius, they drink Celsius. You're just either giving it to them at a discount or giving it to them for free, but in turn they're branding their branding. A lot of it is, if you're branding your businesses or you're doing personal branding, it really comes down to being 100% authentic, right? And being real.
Yeah.
You gotta portray nowadays, you have to portray the exact same thing you're portraying online. You have to be that
Yep.
exact same person in person, right? You have to be
Yep.
that real. The worst thing you can do is not be that person, right? And
Yeah.
do something completely different online than you would ever be in person,
Mhm.
that is going to that's the worst thing you could ever do in the new world, right? Is you want 100% be authentic and real. And that's the greatest thing though, too, because there's always people that want to follow you for who you are. You know, there's always going to be people that may not, right? That may not see the same way you see, may not have the
Right.
same, opinion that you have, but there's so many people in this world that it's okay, right? Because there's so
Yeah.
many people even in the United States, it's okay. There's so many people that are still going to that are going to do business with you. So yeah, John, I think that's there. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would support that. Tony Robbins said that the golden ticket used to be NLP, neuro linguistic programming, but he said now the golden ticket going forward is authenticity. Like you're saying, when people engage with you online and then they get a chance to engage with you in person, are you the same person that they saw online? And if you are, that really resonates with people. That earns trust, and that trust turns into opportunities, whether that means business or not. It doesn't necessarily have to mean business. It can certainly mean, well, I trust you enough to recommend you or to refer you or to connect you with others. It's a powerful thing, no doubt. Now, one area that
Yeah.
you've had experience in with growing your business and awareness, people getting to know, like, and trust you, is through public speaking. So give me an idea for people who are thinking, like, public speaking, like, don't I have to, is that a paid thing? I'd love to make money speaking, but I've never spoken before or have done very little of that. When we say public speaking, what comes to your mind? Because people are thinking stages, they're thinking thousands of people in front of them, but that's not the only way that you can do public speaking. What are some ways that you've leveraged those opportunities to turn into connections, collaborations, or customers?
Yeah, so I mean it's huge, right? So when you say public speaking, when you're getting started, there's different public speaking, right? There's stages, there's keynotes, and there's people that's 100% what they do all day, every day, and some of them are absolutely amazing and get paid an enormous amount of money to speak, right?
Yeah.
That's there. But as a business owner and as somebody that has built a business, there is knowledge, and I don't care who you are, there's knowledge that you have, there's things that you have overcome, and there is people out there 100% that would love to hear some of the trials and tribulations any business owner has gone through, and it will help them not make those mistakes, right? So it's the information game. It's providing people information in order to shorten their gap of being successful. Like if somebody could have came to me and said, Roy, I know 3D printing, I know how to create policies, procedures, manuals. I know how to import it from all different countries. And this was back, 10 years ago, 11
Right.
years ago when I started this. And they said, Roy, we can make sure you make like way less mistakes, which I made hundreds, maybe thousands of mistakes since I started the business, right? Because it's a brand new technology. I mean, there is no
Right.
school for this type of stuff. So it's true entrepreneurship. So you got to look, if somebody says like, listen, I can shorten that by, because I've already done it. So let's just assume they've already done this. Wow. Imagine the information you get there. But people love to not to gain knowledge, right? So you could go to a school, right? With my technology, it starts in schools. It starts young, believe it or not. So you could go to a school and get them excited about the technology. The other thing that you can absolutely do, right, is you could speak at churches, right? You could ask if you could speak at a church. If you're really trying to get into public speaking or just want to be okay with an audience, right? To be actually able to
Yeah.
talk to an audience, the absolute best thing is a thing called Toastmasters.
Yeah. I was
And
going to say
you
that.
can
Yep.
go there for very little money. They have them all over the United States in
Yeah.
pretty much every city in every state, in the United States. And you can go there and they teach you how to be able to interact and speak. Right. And some people go there just to be able to speak better at an interview. Some
Sure.
people go there just want to be able to speak in a group setting, like 5 people or 4 or 3 people, and be better at speaking that way. And then some
Hmm.
people want to speak on stages, right? So, I mean, these types of things are really well at being able to do that. But when you talk about speaking, I mean, you can speak at chamber events, you can
Yep.
speak at schools, you can speak at libraries, you can speak at educational facilities, you can speak at colleges, you can speak at, pretty much anywhere. Think about it. I mean, there's not a lot of places that you couldn't really start speaking at and gain more awareness of your business. And then, like you said, you're providing information. The better you get at speaking, the more you're going to be able to be a storyteller. And
Yep.
that's the truth. Like, storytelling is really important because you got to be entertaining, right? You got
Right.
to be entertaining, or you got to be able to hold an audience.
Yep.
So those types of things are really well, but man, like, there's a ton of places that actually would want you to speak, right? There's a ton of places that would want you to speak. And then that's going to, each time you speak, you're getting better and better. Right. And
Yeah.
it's becoming easier, and you're gaining so much more awareness of your business, especially in your local market. And it
Yep.
doesn't matter if you're a company that's just online. It doesn't matter. Your business is based somewhere. Right. You're
Yes.
living somewhere,
Yes.
and your community and your business and in surrounding businesses, like, people really want to help people. Right. So it doesn't matter if your business, wherever your business is at, or if it's just an online business, you can still attract people locally. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Jerry Seinfeld said so famously that, the number two fear of death, if fear of people is death, number one is public speaking in front of others. Meaning, if you're at a funeral, you would rather be in the casket than doing the eulogy. So if the idea of public speaking makes you feel a little bit nervous, hey, that's typical. On the other hand,
Yes.
you don't need to be thinking about speaking them in front of thousands of people. You just need to be sharing a message that has value, sharing your story. Sometimes you've had experience with this, Roy, of sharing a story can really resonate more powerfully than talking about an idea or concept or principles. Sharing a story, people resonate with that, people connect with that. It also helps if it's communicated, like you said before, in an authentic way. That helps people get to know who you are. They can find out what you do easily enough, but who you
Yeah.
are, that gets communicated. So you're like, okay,
Hmm.
but John, I haven't spoken in front of anybody ever, and I feel like I'm about to throw up when I do. So public speaking, okay, maybe that's a thing down the road I look at. But what are some other ideas of how I can start to get out there in the community? And another one that I think is extremely valuable done right is networking. Now, when we say that, people think, well, what does that mean? What does networking mean? Do I go out and hang out with people? There's an intentionality behind why you're going out in certain business or social events that are combining business and social. And you don't have to pay for these things. Some groups, there is a charge to be a part of it. Others that I've been a part of, there's no cost. You simply show up when they have
Right.
the events, and you start learning more about other people. That's a great way to kind of work on sharing who you are and what you do and how you make a difference and what you do differently than others. But it's really starting to connect with and get in front of others. What are some tips that you would say when you're networking that have helped as you learned, like this didn't work when I was networking at first, and I had to learn those too. Well, what are some things that did work as time went on where it was win-win? It was a positive experience for you and for the other people in the room. What were some networking tips that you learned over time as you started going to more and more of these events?
Yeah, I think it's just definitely 100% be yourself, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is a gigantic, enormous thing. Don't try to be something you're not. And people love to actually, it's human nature. People love to talk about themselves. So
Ah,
the
yes.
more you can let somebody empty their glass, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're networking, when you're talking to them, and again, let them empty their glass, not you empty your glass. You just keep on asking that person questions, and then eventually they're going to ask you a question. They'll be like, what do you do? Right. But it may be down the road. It may be 10, 15 minutes into, it could be 20 minutes into the conversation, depending on how much they want to talk. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And people love to empty their glass. And the more you let somebody kind of empty their glass at the beginning, and the more you're learning about that person, it's a great thing because you're gaining a Rolodex. And a Rolodex is so powerful nowadays. It's the most powerful thing. Social capital and having people in your Rolodex that you know, and you know what they do, you know what business they're in, you know who they know, you can call on them, right? And you could have them help you in life, in business and in life. So I think that's one of the secrets is definitely letting the other person, when you meet them, empty their glass. Get really, really pay attention tremendously to your first impression, what you're giving off as your first impression, right? How are you looking the person in the eye when you meet with them? There's so many things nowadays that people don't pay attention to people, right? They're so stuck on their phones and different things like that. Definitely, if you're at a networking event, do not have your phone out. Like, you need to be like talking to somebody. And if your phone rings, leave it in your pocket, right? Because that's the first thing that's gonna, or say, like, if you have a very important call coming in, then say, I apologize, I need to take this call, I'll be right back, like, and step away and do that. But don't just sit there and look at your phone and texts when you're actually talking to somebody. That's so disrespectful, it's not even funny. And I literally wouldn't want to have nothing to do with you, right? So it comes down to like really paying attention to the environment you're in, but really paying attention to a person. There's nothing better than that human to human connection. And then, like I said, you don't know where that person's going in life, and they don't know where you're going in life. So the bottom line is, you could be talking to somebody that next thing you know is the key to your success, right? They're the key to your success. I just went to a thing called Valspar at Innisbrook in Palm Harbor, Florida. It's a very big PGA Tour
Mm.
golfing event. And there's tons of people there. And it's the same thing. Like, I met some people and they were like, Roy, I wouldn't be where I'm at today if I literally didn't play golf. Like, I met the person that offered me this job on the golf course. Now, I don't play
Mm.
golf, but I'm just saying, I met a few people that actually had said that, right? That
Yep.
they're there. And that's what it is again, it's, me, I think golf is very slow, but
Mm-hmm.
what is golf, right? Golf is like very slow because you're hitting a ball and you're walking, but you're actually talking to somebody. They're getting
Mm-hmm.
to know you, right? And you're getting to know you outside in an environment where there's not a lot of people and they're truly getting to know you. So I look at that a little bit different. Like, there's some times when I'm at a networking event and I'm talking to somebody, if it gets really loud, I'm like, hey man, let's go over here. And I go farther away from everybody else where there's less noise. And I can actually hear the person, and they can hear me, and I can build a great conversation with.
Yeah. Yeah. So networking doesn't have to be, if you're thinking of events, business events, that's one way to network. But
Yeah.
the golf charity events, golf outings,
My
anywhere
gosh.
where people
Yeah.
are gathered that are likely to do or are doing business, that's an opportunity to network. And you also talked about something, maybe a lot of people feel introverted, like crowds are, I'm not sure what to do. Great piece of advice. Come with just a handful of great questions and then ask them. People love to share their stories and talk about what's going on. Let's say if somebody says, so John, what do you do? And that's the first thing they say. And when you walk up to introduce yourself, have the question preloaded, because you don't want to be on the spot first. You don't want to talk first. So you say, hey, my name's John Hanson. I'm curious to know, have a question that's more than what do you do? You got to have a follow up. So it's better to ask a
Yeah.
question. Hey, my name's John Hanson. I'm curious to know, what are you working on this year? What are you most excited about? A question like that. That's going to take you way more than just what do you do? That's kind of a
Yeah.
better opening question, because they're going to have a lot more to share with you, and they're going to share what they're excited about. Then that gets the conversation going. Then if you want to ask, and what I would do as a say a closing question is, if you liked the person and you thought there was some interest here, because it's like speed dating, sometimes the conversation is great and sometimes the conversation is like, well, yeah, it was okay, or sometimes I don't want to talk to that person again. Just being honest. So if it was a great conversation, you're thinking, I really like talking with that person, the question I would ask is, hey, first of all, make sure you connect with them, because if they're on any kind of platform, make sure you're connected with them. Number two is there somebody at this event or online you recommend I connect with? Here's who I'm looking for. If you really connected with somebody, really resonated and aligned with someone, make sure you don't lose the opportunity of asking who they know in an indirect way of, is there somebody you recommend that I talk to that's at this event. They might even warmly introduce you. I did this at an event just a couple days ago. I said, yeah, is there somebody here that you recommend I talk to? And sure enough, man walks up. They know each other very well. I never met this man before. I had a fantastic conversation throughout the evening, and who knows what that's going to lead to down the road. But that's just something where you come with a few great questions. You ask people genuinely, you want to learn about them. Time flies. And then if there's real strong alignment, make sure you ask who they recommend that you speak to at the event or online. I highly recommend making sure that you connect with people online. Look, I didn't start with the thousands of connections I've got. I started with literally nothing. I didn't have any social media. Well, when I started growing my brand, I realized I needed to grow my network. And so it took time, but I started adding and figure out who's a good connection. And that's what you can do as well. When you start connecting with quality people, you're going to get connected with more and more quality people. So when I say quality, it just means it needs to be people that align with your values, align with your goals, that are connected with others, and take it from there. Another aspect of non-traditional advertising, and I know we both have experience with this too, Roy, is what about podcasting? The number of these have exploded over the past few years. There are so many podcasts, and you know firsthand the challenge of getting guests lined up, especially if they have a weekly podcast. So what's been your experience in working with podcasts, Roy, and what would you recommend to somebody that's going to dip their toe in the water, kind of get started in that space of podcasting as a guest?
Yeah, just as a guest, I mean, the number one way to start being a podcast guest, which is very, very simple to do, just go to podmatch.com. And podmatch.com, you create a profile on there of who you are, what your talking points would be on a podcast. And then it's a small fee per month. And literally people read your profile on there of what you do, or they search out different things that you do and you're more of an expert on, and then they actually invite you to be on their podcast. And let me put it to you this way: you can actually get overwhelmed with the responses of how many people that want you to be on their podcast. So yeah, that's the easiest way. And then if you're going to create an actual podcast, you can do the same thing. You could pay, I think it's almost double, but it's not, but you're paying for what you're getting. You have your own podcast. So again, you're pulling people to your podcast. But if you just want to be on people's podcast or on podcast, that's one of the best ways I've seen. And I got a chance at Podfest Expo in Orlando. I got a chance to meet the owner of Pod Match, and he actually embraces the community. So some of the money that he's getting every single month from every user, he's putting back into the community. Man, what a great guy. What a great guy. He really wants to grow it. So that's there. If you're not ready to do that, you have to remember the other thing that you could do is just grab somebody like a friend and then just put a video camera up and start recording you talking to a friend, because it's going to be very natural, right? And
Yes.
then start taking that and cutting it up
Yep.
and putting it on social media. The power of video
Yeah.
is unbelievable. So I can tell you, people can see when they see you, it's a lot different than a picture or
Yep.
writing. Video is the most impactful, powerful thing. And if you can learn to do that, or you can learn to leverage a camera, okay,
Yeah.
so it's called talking to camera. And the
Mhm.
way I even learned it was I did talk to camera challenge. It's on YouTube. Go to
Hmm.
YouTube and put in talk to camera challenge, and it's a challenge to literally learn how to talk to a camera. Because I'm not a young person that's grown up with phones in my face. I did not know how to talk to a camera naturally, and I got better and better at it by doing talk to camera challenge. So
Hmm.
it's really interesting. But any type of that type of stuff, content, I mean, gosh, like social media is free, and Gary V says it best: you never ever know when you're going to make a piece of content. It could go absolutely viral and it
Hmm.
can change your life, right? So
Hmm.
it's so the opportunity is there. You have to be creating content around you, around your business,
Hmm.
all of those types of things. And again, if you are a certain person that does certain things, that likes certain things, there's other people out there that's going to like that. And that's going to
Yeah.
create your network. That's going to create a community, which is going to be absolutely amazing for you, because then that's allowing you to grow with people that accept you for who you are and actually like you, right? And actually like what you stand for.
Mm-hmm.
And that is starting a brand. That's starting your own personal brand, your own reputation. And some people think like, well, there's so many people doing it. There's actually not, right? Like, and you don't need to have a ton of followers. You don't need to have a ton of likes. I thought that's what I like when I started. I was like, man, it's so hard because there's so many people getting a ton of likes, and there's so many people getting a ton of followers. And let me put it to you this way. When I go out in Tampa Bay in my back market, right? And I walk into a room to network, people are like, man, Roy, I see you on Instagram. I see you on Facebook. I see you on LinkedIn. Your videos are great. And I'm like, yeah, but you've never commented on them.
Right.
Like, you've never liked them. But it's so funny. I don't even ask them that, but I know that people are actually, it's working because the people say it to me all the time. So please don't think that likes and followers mean anything. People are absolutely like, you would never know that people are consuming your content until you actually go somewhere and then they tell you that they're consuming your
Yeah.
content. It's so crazy. Yesterday at Valspar, I had so many people tell me they love my content. They love what I'm doing. In there again, like, it does not matter how many followers, it does not matter how many views you have. It's these actual people that are really, they're actually paying attention to you. And the way they're paying attention to you, just so you know, is the algorithm. If they watch you and they watch you again, even if they don't like you or follow you, they continue to see you because the
Yeah.
algorithm
It feeds.
pushes you to them. So
Yep.
it's there as well. So I mean, there's so much opportunity that way, right? To do that. And then again, that's people you don't even know that may just recognize you. And then, man, it makes it so much easier to network because they're actually coming up and saying, man, I love that video. I love the content that you put out on social media. Man, can you tell me more about like that subject? Like, I heard you talk a little bit about that because again, most social media is very short form, right?
Yes.
So then somebody will ask you to elaborate on that topic that you had, and next thing you know, they're like, man, I think the same way as you. I think the same, and boom, next thing you know, you got this collaboration and you're building this friendship and
Mm-hmm.
you're building your network up. It is so great.
Yeah.
So
Oh gosh, so many great things you said in there. It's gonna sound like I'm an echo chamber here, but LinkedIn video creation, LinkedIn video content is viewed 20 times more than any other kind of content because people get a feel for who you are. It stops the scroll. People want to digest that form of content. So learn how to get comfortable with creating that because you'll get in the single digit percentage of the billion users now on LinkedIn. If you're regularly creating and posting video content, you're in the single digit percentage of those billion users of people actually doing that. I know you could think, what? That doesn't seem right. I looked at LinkedIn's data when I did a presentation in
yeah,
Marco Island last year. I'm telling you, this is the reality of things. So if you get comfortable speaking to a camera and you start creating, just talking about things that are important to you or the business you want to go into or the business you're already in, it's going to resonate with people. And to tell you a story too, you're thinking, yeah, but Roy, I mean, you were Fast 50 in Tampa. Like, who doesn't know your face? Of course, people are telling you your content's great. I'll give you a perfect example. I had only worked for this company for 1 year, but I was regularly posting like I always did. Went to their annual conference in Orlando. There were over 1,200, maybe 1,500 people there, seated at a table. Sunday night, it's the first gathering dinner. There's tables of 10 filling this auditorium. It's massive, 100 plus tables. Seated across from me is a young man. He looks at me and he gets up and he walks around. He says, "Are you John Hanson?" I had never seen this guy before in my life. And he said, "I love your content." And then he hugged me. He said, "The content's great. Please keep doing it." I had never met this man before in my life. He'd never liked, he'd never commented. I knew he worked for the company because then I looked him up on LinkedIn afterwards. I didn't know who this guy was, but he knew who I was. I'm telling you, if here's the key though. Here's the key. If you're going to do it, be consistent. It doesn't have to be great. It doesn't have to be, as a matter of fact, they've proven if it's authentic and not distractingly bad, but if it's authentic, it does better than in a studio with lights, camera, makeup. All that feels like a commercial. But if you're sharing your thoughts, whether you're taking a walk, in the car, at your desk, in your office, wherever it is, and you're sharing those things authentically, and you're putting that out on a regular basis, not only are you going to be the single digit percentage of users on LinkedIn who are actually doing that, but also you're going to be somebody that's going to start getting known. You won't see it. Roy, you're absolutely right. You're not going to see reflected in the likes and the comments and the shares and the reposts and the what's the word? The impressions. You're not going to be able to tell by that, but you are going to start hearing, if you do this on a regular basis down the road, you are going to hear people say, I liked your post on who are you? I didn't even see you react or respond or interact with my post, but just because there aren't interactions doesn't mean there aren't viewers. I find this all the time. I know it's true for you as well, but the key to it is consistency. If you're going to start into something, stay with it. Even if you only do it once per day, if you do it once per week, you're still in the top percentage of people. And I'm speaking specifically of LinkedIn here. You're still in the top percentage of users on LinkedIn. But if you did it three times a week, whatever you decide to stay with it. Be consistent with it because you're training the algorithm. And like Roy said, if you start showing up in people's feed and they keep viewing, what does every social media platform want? They want eyeballs. So if your eyeballs continue to go to a post, they're going to make sure that keeps going into your feed so that you keep staying on their platform. If somebody likes your stuff and they keep viewing it, whether they react to it or not, doesn't matter. That's what the algorithm wants. So just realize if you're consistent with something and it's resonating with people and they keep viewing it, things don't go viral overnight. But if you're consistent in putting things out, the odds go up dramatically in your favor that you will create something that's going to go viral. That more people are
And
watching
that's
than
the
you realize.
biggest, yeah, and that's the biggest thing is being consistent, right?
Yeah.
So I truly recommend you create a library of posts, for 30, 60 days and then start posting so that you stay extremely, extremely consistent. The more consistent you stay, the better you will absolutely find followers again. But you need to be consistent. You need to be very consistent at social media.
Now, how about this, Roy? And I know we've talked about this. Somebody's like, yeah, but I don't know what to talk about. There's this fantastic tool out there called ChatGPT. And you say,
I
this
was
is the
you
industry that I'm in. I'm looking for topics to talk about. It'll give you as many as you want. Ask for, I don't know, 50, ask for 30. It'll give you in seconds. It'll give you, here's the 30
yeah.
things you can talk about. You'll have no
And that's the
shortage of things
crazy
to
thing
talk
is
about.
when we were talking earlier, John, I hate to interrupt, but it was like when you go to a networking event, man,
Yeah.
you could just tell AI what the networking event and say, ask them what's 10 questions I can ask them, buddy,
Yeah.
to get to know them. And
Yeah.
it'll tell you. Like it's so simple now, but you can actually feed them, you can feed it all the information on the event. So you can it will research the event and then it'll ask
Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
knows what type of people are at the event. I mean, there's so many things. Yeah, I mean, you can literally pop out your phone when you're in the car before you walk into the networking event and literally put in all this information on ChatGPT. And next thing you know, say, hey, what's 5 questions I can ask to start
Yep.
out? And boom, it will give that to you. It's so crazy, right? And then we're just talking about how you do content. It's so now, please understand, you need to not just do what ChatGPT or AI says. You need to make it more
Mm-hmm.
authentic to you. So the social media, yes, it's giving you stuff, but edit it a little bit to you, like who
Mm-hmm.
you are, because it doesn't know who you are. So that's one of the most important things too, is you gotta remember to stay very authentic, very real, and make sure that what you're putting out is 100% you. But yes, use these as tools to
Mm-hmm.
guide you in that proper direction, right? Like to guide you and to help you so much, because it's going to cut down the amount of time you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tremendously, how much time you have to spend doing it. And it's going to come up with so much better information and so many better answers and so much better stuff than you actually could. It's so
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, AI is a powerful. If you're not using AI in your life, you need to be. And there's so many excellent
Yeah.
free tools out there that you can be using in your email. And you're thinking, yeah, but I don't want it to take a. That's the thing about video. You sitting in front of a camera and talking about whatever the talking points were, whether AI came up with them, you came up with them, doesn't matter. You talking about those things, that's original content. That's why video is so powerful, because even if the talking points were generated by AI, it's still you sharing your thoughts, your experiences in connection with that. And that's original content. So don't be hung up on, oh, I don't want AI to take over my creativity. It's not. It's going to give you ideas on how you can unlock your creativity, how you can share your story, how you can share your experiences, how you can connect with people, because what you're sharing is going to resonate with them. You're just using the easy button to get those conversations started. Just like, Roy, your idea of some questions I can ask about when I'm at this event, that's different than what most people are going to be asking. Most people showing up are going to be asking, what's your name? What do you do? Where are you from? Everybody asks those questions. Well, what if you showed up and you were the one that was asking questions that were a whole different thing, that were dialed into what that event's all about and how those people are connected to what that event's all about? You are going to stand out in a wonderful way, even if you're not. Even if you're a quiet, introspective person, but your questions are different and genuine, my gosh, people are going to remember you in a wonderful way. So don't be concerned about, hey, I'm not an off the wall, extroverted, born salesperson. Doesn't matter. When you come with great questions and you genuinely care about the answers, people know that. People feel that. And that's a powerful way. And then video is the other one, where when you're sharing your thoughts and insights and ideas, that resonates with people too. So we've had great experience with these things. AI, like Roy said, is a tool. Use the tool effectively. By all means, be using the tool. But remember, it's you. It's the authentic care for others, and it's you sharing your stories and experiences. That's what's going to resonate with people. That's what's going to get them from beyond knowing about you to liking you, and ideally to trusting you, so that you have more opportunities, whether it be collaborations or clients or partners or centers of influence. That was something I wanted to ask you, Roy, because we only got a few more minutes left. I call them one to many. How do you identify somebody that is a center of influence or somebody who's well connected? That would be when you start to develop a relationship with that person, you know that they know so many other people. This is the kind of people you'd like to get connected with, that are not only strongly aligned with you, but know a lot of other people who could be as well. What are some clues you look for to someone who could be well connected that way?
What are some clues that I look for?
Yeah, yeah. When you're having conversations with somebody, how do you have an idea of this someone that now? I use LinkedIn, so I cheat a little bit and I do research if I know who's going to be there.
Yeah.
But I'm going blind into a party, let's say, and I don't know who's there. How do I identify if somebody is well connected in the community, in that room, in that space, in that event, in that association? What are some questions or some clues you look for to identify that somebody is?
I definitely look at who's moving around in the room and who everybody's focused on. Some
Ah,
people are going to be focused on others right away, right?
mm-hmm.
And the other question is, you could ask somebody who do I, again, you're starting to talk to people there and you say, well,
Mm-hmm.
who should I talk to here?
Right.
Who's somebody that I get to know? Who's the guy that's putting on this event? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Boom. That's going to be one of the main guys, right? So that's one of the first questions you could ask is like, who's hosting this event, and are they here, or who's here on their behalf, and who's running this event? And listen, if they're running that event, they're probably running a lot more, right?
Right.
That's
Yeah.
typically what goes on. And that's the person you want to get, because then you could meet that person, right? 100%. You could tell them who you are, what type of people you're trying to connect with, and they're going to be like, "Oh yeah, this is going to be, you're going to connect with this woman, this person, this guy, this one," and boom, next thing you know, you have it. So that's kind of like, to find your people that can get you out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great thing. But also, they're gonna look at you too, man. And if you're not authentic and you're not real, and you're just
Right.
trying to throw somebody a business card, or you're trying to sell somebody something and be very salesy, they're gonna shut you down, right? Because they're
Yes.
just gonna know. So there's 100% difference between networking and being like going into a room trying to pass people your business card and sell
Right.
stuff. Like,
Right.
that's not what you want to do, and it's done. but it's not what you want to do at a
Right.
networking event. You want to get to know people. And
Yeah.
in the way that you get business is, again, people will refer business to you. People will know who you are. They know what you do. And next thing you know, some people in that room are talking. They'll be like, yeah, you need to go talk to John, or you need to go talk to Roy, because that's what they do. And they could, that's how that works. It's not in any way, shape, or form off of trying to be salesy.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't want to do that. So,
Nope. Nope.
yep.
Nope. I agree with that. Percent. Okay. Talk about one more thing. People are going to think this is really out of the blue, and it doesn't come to people's minds very often. This is going to be probably more related to people that own a business. They got some experience under their belt. But what about writing a book? I mean, it seems like everybody's got a book nowadays. But is that true? Does everybody have a book nowadays? And what could be the advantage of having one?
I think there's tons of advantages to telling your story, right? And then a book is also can be turned into an audible where somebody's listening, which
Yep.
again, people listen a lot in cars. People listen a lot when they just want to listen. They consume content, right? So they're 100% consuming content, and it's great to write a book, right? Because it's based upon a story. And again, it's storytelling. It's telling. But when they read that book, depending on the subject, or if it's something that you're a SME, a subject matter expert in, they're always going to remember that. Even 10 years later, they're going to remember, I read that book and it was this guy. And
Yeah.
that's a great thing. But yeah, you can write a book, you can do self-publishing, you can use AI tremendously to proofread it, to help you. I mean, it's so much easier to
Yep.
write a book now than it ever has been. Right. It helps you even with talking points and how to lay it out. I mean, everything can be done to help you build it using it. So yeah, but I definitely think, writing a book, and you have to remember the next thing that you're doing is you're leaving something on this planet. And if there's something in there that can help somebody, you're leaving the world a better place because you've left a book, right, that has information in it. And all it takes is one person to read it. And that one person, it affects their life, right? So no matter
Hmm.
what, yeah, and that to me is like a key to success, right? Is no matter what, you're touching somebody. And even when you're gone, it's the marks that you can leave on this planet while you're here. So I think books, videos, things like that, they're always capable of being used, or somebody getting to know you even when you're not there. I mean, there's never a time, I think, in history that like a Steve Jobs, like the founder of Apple, 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, people are going to look back and they're going to look at what he wrote, his quotes, his videos, how he inspired the world to change, right? And there's a lot of other people. I'm just using him as
Sure.
as one, but man, like you're leaving that behind. You're leaving that stuff. You're leaving that quote. You're leaving that book. You're leaving that video. You're leaving that behind, and you never ever know where that could lead, right? Where that piece of advice could change somebody's life. So I think it's so unbelievably powerful. And it gives you a little bit more of accreditation. It's not easy, no matter what, to put a book together. Like you should feel very accomplished at the end of it. Anybody should, like they did it, So it's a thing that you could use as a stepping stone to just something that was not easy in your life. You accomplished, right? So
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So what I'd say in closing, because we're down to the last minute, what I'd say is if you want to learn more about us, definitely check out, follow, send a connection request on LinkedIn. If you're interested for ideas on how can I hey, we know what bootstrapping is like. Bro and I both do. We've had done that multiple times.
Yeah.
Still do it in aspects of our businesses. So if you're looking for ideas like that, guerrilla marketing is what really gave me way a ton of ideas on how to market at low or no cost. I'm sure they've updated since I last read it. I think Jay Levinson might be the author, but guerrilla marketing was just how do you not guerrilla the animal, but guerrilla like guerrilla warfare tactics. If you Google it and you like to read books, that's a resource I recommend. Yeah, you can Google it. You're going to get all kinds of ideas on how you can market yourself in low or no cost ways. That's what I would recommend. A couple ideas. Roy, I'll leave it to you to close things out.
No, I appreciate everybody today hearing what we have to say. Hopefully, we've put some great advice out there. Again, we're going to be here every single week. We do this to try to give you information. If there's anything at all that you ever want us to talk about, please feel free to message us, talk to us, get a hold of us. Like I said, we're here just to push this content out to help you literally grow. So, and be successful in 2025. But thank you so much. And we look forward to next week. Have a great
See you
week.
next time.
Thanks. All right. Bye-bye.